Hey there, Starfish. Brian King here. I was having this great conversation with a client just a little bit ago, and I was reminded of a discrepancy that happens a lot with the ADHD community that is really important for me to reiterate, and let me just get right to it. There's a common misdiagnosis that I see happening, and this is something that is just from my clinical experience, just working with people for over a decade that have ADHD and various other challenges. But one pattern I've noticed is that the all or nothing way in which ADHD people experience the world, especially women, is often misdiagnosed as bipolar disorder. And let me tell you why. Because of the tendency to think of things in a very black and white, right or wrong, good or bad way, this also shows up in the way we relate to our own emotions. You can tend to find this in people very, very rigid black and white thinkers. Things are all good or all bad. You're either happy or sad. You're either pissed off or in love. You're either terrified of something or perfectly comfortable. And there's not a whole lot of subtlety in between. Now, as you grow and mature, you can begin to experience some of the gray, some of the nuance and subtleties. But there's usually still some aspects of that all or nothing way of experiencing your internal world and the external world. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, those of you who have bipolar diagnoses, my understanding of the difference between bipolar and, say, emotional dysregulation in people with ADHD is when bipolar mania or depression shows up, it just kind of shows up. There's no real indication that it's coming, there's no real rhyme or reason, whereas mood dysregulation and ADHD, there tends to be some trigger, some event, some experience that causes the swing. Now, if I'm incorrect about this, straighten me out, because I want to make sure I'm getting this correctly. And why are women disproportionately diagnosed with bipolar? Well, sexism, basically. One of the original DSMs had histrionic disorder. Histrionic is the root word in there in Latin, refers to the uterus, meaning that you're more emotional because you have a uterus, and therefore women are prone to be much more hysterical, and if they go over the top with their emotions, then we have to label them with this disorder. And I hate to say it, but that sexism still really remains in a lot of the thinking around it, which is why it's easier to pin bipolar on women than it is men. So how do you really tell the difference between the two? Well, I pointed out one differentiating criteria. One is triggered, one is not. Another thing that I really recommend, not only for human beings who want to live more fully, but especially for people that have difficulty with managing their emotional intensity or experience, is you must commit yourself to improving and deepening your emotional intelligence. You need to get to know the subtle flavors and nuance of the various emotions that you feel. For instance, sad isn't just sad. Sad can be morose, melancholy, bummed. Think of all the adjectives you can, or alternatives. Angry. You can be fuming. You can be flaming mad. You can be irritated. You can be annoyed. You can be frustrated. There are so many different levels. It's not just being angry. And if you can understand those different levels and actually experience them, imagine how much better you can be at preventing escalation one way or the other towards being pissed off or being completely accepting. There's so many different subtleties, and the best way to manage them is to master them, period. You've got to invest in that inner work to get a handle on just what it means to experience life in a much more colorful way. In fact, in the membership program that I have for all of my clients, I'm really heavy on reflection, introspection, getting to know yourself, doing the deep work, even the hard stuff, because that tends to be where the treasures lie. After you've been digging, and you think you're just about to give up, that's when you strike gold. And that is a lot of what I work with people on, and exactly what I can provide for you when you decide to join us in this community. Because let's face it, you could do it alone, but why the heck would you choose to go on a safari all by yourself when there is a experienced team that can go with you and make sure you have the best experience possible? So I'll leave it at this for now. Hopefully this has been helpful for you in some way. If there's somebody you know that can benefit from this video, let them know about it. If you have any questions about joining my program, send me a message and I'll get you all hooked up. And until we talk again, this has been Brian. Thanks for being you.